welcome back to this exciting session on cash waqf. We have a very great personality, Shariq Saab, जो बहुत ही famous personality है and who can share good insights on this sunnah that has been there but not very well followed in the recent times. So over to you, Shariq Saab. We are very eagerly waiting to have a very great session from you.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. So, the discussion today is cash waqf redefining the old era. It may seem little odd that cash and waqf, and then how could it be redefining the old era? And that is what I have been struggling to justify my topic. But hopefully, I'll try to give a perspective on the waqf itself. So here is what the plan for today is. First of all, I'll try to spend little time on understanding waqf and its motivation as far as the religion of Islam is concerned. That's the first point. Then we'll try to understand the structures and types of waqf, and then categories of waqf. We will also discuss some innovations in waqf. Challenges, very commonly we hear about challenges, etc. But we'll just try to see things in perspective. And if my time permits, I will also be going little bit about the status of waqf or awqaf in India. Waqf is a singular word and awqaf is plural. So please understand that I'll be using these words interchangeably depending upon if I'm referring to singular or plural. At many places, the names of Prophet and his companions will come. So please remember that, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Radiyallahu Anhu, etc. is the common words that is used for companions of Prophet. I will first start with motivations for charity in Quran. And why I have not referred word waqf here has a reason. So let us first have a look. All human beings, they have one common tendency, and that is to acquire merit in the eyes of God. This desire motivates them to work for fellow human being. This is a very intense desire, and Quran reminds believers to recognize that whatever fortune they have is because of the blessings of the Almighty God, and they can express gratitude to Almighty God by serving the people in this world. That is the way of showing gratitude to the Almighty Allah. These are some relevant verses of Quran. These are some verses of Quran. Give glad tidings to those who believe and do good works. Never will you attain the good until you spend from what you love the most. Is another very important teaching of Quran. In fact, this is the teaching which led to the first or among the earliest awqaf in Islam. There are some other verses also. I will not read them all. I'll try to move on to the subject at hand. But these are setting the context. So if you disclose your charitable expenditure, they are good. But if you conceal them and help the poor, so that also is a teaching of Quran. Another very important is the verse that says, "Race to goodness." So rush to do good thing. These are some other verses. I will not read them all. I will try to move on to the subject. But these are the verses very oftenly quoted when we talk about waqf in Islam. So these are, and we all know that Quran being the most primary and most important source of Sharia carries lots of weight in terms of defining waqf and in terms of its rules and regulations. So that is the context in which I'm giving these references. Earliest waqf. Uh, Before I mention this, the most important hadith that refers to waqf, the idea of waqf is related narrated by Hazrat Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, where he says that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that when a man dies, all his acts come to an end, except three things: recurring charity, which is called in Sadaqatul Jariyah, knowledge, and pious offspring who prays for him. So these are three things that continues even after the death of a person. This is actually considered to be the basis of creation of waqf in Islam. If you look at the most important hadith that refers to the rules and regulations related to waqf is this one, and this is reported from Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu. In fact, he got one very important piece of land in Khaybar after Khaybar was won in, I think, 629. Is 629, yeah. And he went to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam asking about what should he do with the property. And Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that if you like, you can give this land. And he used the word habs, habbasatana, which is considered to be equivalent of waqf word. So remember, and these are important point because these are very important point that I wish to highlight here. The word used by Prophet was not waqf, it was habas, which is equivalent to waqf. And he said, if you like, you can give this land habs and give its fruit as charity, which is sadaqah. So charity, sadaqah and habas was the word used by Prophet when he advised Hazrat Umar, and saying that if you like. The root habas means possession, the ownership, the entitlement. So to avail oneself of the user for it, or it also means that you get the benefit of usage or regular revenue. So that is sadaqah. The property was thus not for personal enjoyment. So that the idea was that this property that Hazrat Umar came to ask for, the idea was that you should not use this for personal enjoyment, but leave it for meeting the needs of the society. This is the hadith based on which rules are developed later on. Rules and regulations are developed later on. Much before this hadith, much before this, and this is also very important point to note that one more point I wish to mention here, and which will be repeated in our discussion, is that Hazrat Umar agreed to this suggestion, and he gave this property as a charity, and he called this as an endowment, on the condition that this will not be sold, not given to anybody as a present, and it will not be part of his inheritance to his children. So it will not be sold, it will not be gifted, it will not be inherited. That became the basis of waqf identification later on, and its yield would be given in charity to the poor people. And then there are categories defined by Hazrat Umar, that poor people, the family of Prophet, freeing of slave, Allah's cause, travelers and guests. So these are the people identified as beneficiary for the property that Hazrat Umar got, and fruit of which he dedicated to serving the cause of these people, which he has identified in this. And also he made that there would be no harm if the guardian of the endowment ate from it, guardian that will be known as Mutawalli later on, or Qayyam later on, or Nazir later on. So guardian will be allowed to eat from it according to the need, and good intention, and feed others also, without storing it for future. That is the rule which is getting developed from that hadith. Very important point which often gets missed in this point, in this discussion is this one. We have another much before this, I think 5-6 years before this all happened, about Hazrat Umar's property. A Jewish Rabbi, he fought in Ohad, Battle of Ohad, along with Prophet, and and he died in the battle. He died as Shaheed, fighting along with Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, in which Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam also was injured very grievously. It came to be known later on that he had told his family before leaving for the battle that if I die, my all properties would be bequeathed to Prophet, and that turned out to be the first waqf. And we should not forget that this was a Jewish scholar, a Jewish Rabbi, and that became a very good source of sadaqah for Prophet, for the people in Medina. So Prophet ﷺ used that property, that sadaqah, for people and needies in Medina. And Prophet ﷺ, of course, used very good words about him, that he was one of the best Jews. And of course, some people say that he had not converted. Some people say that he had converted. This is not the subject for us. Allah knows the matter of hearts. And therefore, some people also say that even non-Muslims can also make waqf. But I would not want to go into that deeper aspect of who can create waqf, because it is a desire of people to please the God, and in the process of pleasing the God, they are trying to create avenues for the less fortunate people in this world, so that their expenses, their needs can be met, and in return of that, Allah Ta'ala can reward, God can reward them in the life, in this life as well as in the life hereafter. So that was the first background, where we have hadith quoted from Hazrat Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. We have more detailed, justification and rules coming from the hadith narrated from Hazrat Umar bin Khattab. And we also have one event which is referring to one of the earliest waqf created after Hijrah in Medina. Now, there are many other companions. I have just noted this for the record, who created waqf in the life of Prophet and even after that. So waqf has been continuous effort throughout Islamic history. So the earliest, one of the earlier waqf is also by Abu Talha radiallahu anhu. When this ayat of Quran, "Lan tanalul birra hatta tunfiqu mimma tuhibbun," was revealed, at that point in time, Hazrat Abu Talha was so inspired that he had a very important date palm just outside Masjid Nabawi in Medina, and he said, "This is most beloved property of mine, and I want to donate this for the cause of Allah." And then Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that you can you can give this to your relatives and others, etc., etc. So this is one of the companions, Abu Talha. He was from Medina. We all know very often quoted report where Hazrat Usman, a Muslim community, was facing problem because a well was owned by a Jew, and Hazur Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that, who is there who can buy this well and waqf it for the cause of the people. And Hazrat Usman spent his money, and first he bought the half right, and later on he managed to get the full right of the well, and which he dedicated. There are several other examples. Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq, Hazrat Usman, I have already mentioned, Hazrat Ali ibn Abi Talib. Muaz bin Jabal radiallahu anhu donated a house, which was actually popularly known as Darul Ansar. And many other prophets, Ibn Umar, Amr bin As, Khalid bin Walid, etc., all are reported. In fact, Imam Shafi said that more than 80 companions of the Prophet created waqf. So you can imagine the desire for companions to create waqf. Of course, a great number of people were not very rich also. So this is about Quran and Hadith and then Sahaba. Now, if you look at dimensions, it covers almost all kinds of needs in the life, and it is spread across segment, if in terms of needs: health, education, basic infrastructure, businesses, commercial activities, job creation, food provision for the hungry and livestock, shelter for poor and needy, supporting agriculture, industrial sectors, laboratory, libraries, right? So what we know in economics as a market failure, those segments where private businesses do not find enough opportunity, profit making opportunity, and therefore they make themselves absent from those activities, but which are very important for the society. In olden period, we didn't have a welfare state or government having large amount of taxes collecting from public, and therefore these wealthy people came forward to support the societies where business people were not coming forward to create infrastructure and to create avenues to meet the requirements of the needy and supporting. So these are the area, you name it. In fact, there have been waqf, and I'll tell later on, all kinds of waqf properties created, and some of them very, very innovative. In fact, Ibn Battuta mentions that endowments of waqf in Damascus were plentiful, uncounted and unlimited. Large number of properties, so many number of properties were there in Damascus waqf. These are the dimensions. So people do it for ibadah, people do it for social and charitable work. Many people try to do it for dawah also. They want to spread the message of their religion, and they wish to establish those things. And many people try to do it for maintaining dignity and self-respect. So these are the dimensions for which waqf is actually made. If you look at fiqhi development, the hadith related to Hazrat Umar became the guiding principle. Why I'm saying this is also because there is no direct reference to creation of waqf in Quran. There is no direct. There is a teaching from Prophet ﷺ who says that, three things of a man after he is dead remains, and one of them is sadaqah jariyah, that work that he has done, a benevolent work that he has done and continues after his death, is sadaqah jariyah. And the most important hadith I referred is also related to Hazrat Umar. That became the guiding principle for creation of rules in waqf. So number one was, it indicated that once a property becomes waqf, it cannot be sold, gifted, or given as inheritance. That is what we referred from the statement of Hazrat Umar. Secondly, the hadith also stipulate that the waqif or the founder of the waqf can decide with flexibility who the beneficiary will be. As he said that so and so and so and so and so. So once a property is gifted, is tied, once a property is made waqf, it cannot be inherited, it cannot be gifted, it cannot be sold, and the beneficiary will be decided by the person who is doing waqf. And third, the management of the waqf be done by the person who, if he is alive, he himself can do the management and take some benefit out of it for his survival. Post his life, he can make mutawallis or nazir or trustees or directors who will be responsible for managing the waqf in the light of the objectives decided by the waqif. That is the rule. Now, it was very surprising that until the period of Imam Abu Hanifa, who was born in 80 Hijri, so maybe around 100 Hijri plus, because he must have been 20 plus when he wrote about this. And he defined waqf, and this is very important for us to note here, is that waqf is tying up of a substance of a property in the ownership of the waqif. Waqif is the person who gives waqf, who creates waqf. And the devotion of the usufruct, of the usufruct or usage, amounting to ariya, that donation is known as ariya, or accommodate loan for some charitable purposes. That is what he defines as a waqf. This means that according to Imam Abu Hanifa, the ownership in the property continued to be vested in the owner. At this moment, when we are talking about 100 Hijri, the concept of ownership vesting with God has not developed. This is what I'm trying to highlight here by copying this statement, that ownership in the property continues to be vested in the owner, and its usufruct was spent for charitable or pious purposes. So whatever is the earning that is spent on charitable and pious purposes, and the ownership remains in the hands of the owner. Hanifa, time permanent in nature. This is another definition we developed over a period, that this is permanent in nature. This is permanent. But at that point in time, or until that point in time, this was not the understanding. It was recoverable by Waqif at any time, and he was also free to dispose it of according to his will. So at that point in time, rules for Waqf were not as developed. Why I'm focusing on this is because that whatever we find as a rules today, binding against the development of Waqf property, was not so at that point in time. Because ultimately what matters is the property, ultimately what matters are the beneficiary, are these two things. Other things were developed over a period, maybe to make better use of the purposes, to achieve the objective. That is also possible, that people might have donated and then they wanted to take it back. This is also possible that this was used as a tool for tax evasion. So people, when they have a high tax, they will say that this property is given as a waqf, and once they find it suitable, I didn't have the time to go into that detail to find out that why this understanding was made so strong later on, that we think that today waqf is not possible without these rules. So that is the reason I'm trying to highlight this. So at that point in time, this was not so, and Waqif could take, and Waqif could obviously, when it can take property back, it can also give it to another purpose of Waqf, etc. That is the question. Two of the famous students of Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Yusuf and Imam Muhammad, they developed different ideas. And they said that Waqf is tying up of the substance of a thing under the rule of the property of Almighty God. So this is where Waqf is supposed to be coming out of the ownership of the Waqif to the ownership of the God. It's not a literal sense, obviously. Ownership of the God means that owner is losing the ownership of the property once he has given the property as Waqf. And that is where by ownership of God means it is owned by Ummah, or it is owned by the beneficiary, or it is owned by, not owned by at least, the Waqif or the person who has given it. That is the idea developed from this point onwards. And if you see that across now, here we will have commonality of understanding as far as rules for Waqf is concerned. So that property right of the Waqif becomes extinguished and is transferred to Almighty God for any purpose by which its profit may be applied to the benefit of his creatures. That is the definition given by Imam Abu Hanifa. Of course, there are some differences also, but I may not have time to go into that detail at the moment. Restrictions. So now we move to rules and restrictions. So most Muslim scholars have listed that irrevocability, perpetuity, and inalienability is the condition for Waqf. Once it is given, it cannot be revoked. Its benefit will go in perpetuity, and perpetuity means that corpus has to remain. And inalienability, that these cannot be taken back for any other purposes. The first restriction is the most critical aspect of Waqf because of the unanimous view of jurists who declared that once a founder announces his asset as Waqf, the status cannot be changed by the founder or his heirs later on. It is possible that scholars came to this view because there might have been some cases or many cases where people gave as a donation and then they started to come back for whatever reason. So it was decided that once you give waqf, it cannot be taken back because you lose your ownership after creating waqf. That was. Irrevocability has been put in place to ensure that the charitable purpose continues to be for the benefit of the public. That purpose for which waqf was created, that cannot be revoked. And this was to make sure that the idea is sadaqah jariyah for the waqif, for the person who is creating this waqf. Sadaqah jariyah will continue only if the activity continues. So irrevocability concept comes in from here. And then property seeks to protect existing waqf from being taken over by individuals and governments. This is the third point, inalienability. Because tomorrow government should not take it over. Tomorrow other people should not take it over. So this was considered. So maybe that Fiqha developed rule to avoid exploitation of this concept of waqf by the donor, by the manager, and by the government and other people. That is how waqf rule started to be developed as we see them today. Now, the final restriction of inalienability was put in place so no human can become the owner of what is meant to be an asset that belongs to Allah. That no one can sell, no one can mortgage, no one can give away, no one can inherit at any point in time. So this was to protect the asset from any kind of interference by people, by government, by manager, etc. And that was the restriction of waqf. Structure of waqf. So the person who endows is known as waqif or al-muhabbis. Habas, a word that I used in the beginning, you should be remembering that, because the original word used by Prophet ﷺ was habas, not waqf, and which was meant to cause waqf because it was known to be that this habas will continue in the corpus and the fruit of that will be sadaqah jariyah, and that is how the process of waqf, which is interchangeably used with habasa. Now, through a deed, which is known as waqafiyah, a contract deed, or maybe you can call trust deed, which creates managers after the life. So in the life, even endower can manage it, and after the life, whosoever is appointed manager, they are called Nazir, Mutawalli, Qayyim, etc. But it is a waqf manager. I have used English word for better easy understanding. And this property, which is endowed asset, this could be property, this could be any other thing also, any other property, not only real estate. I will come on that subject, which is known as mawquf. So you have waqif, you have waqafiyya, you have mutawalli, you have mawquf. And this property, endowed properties, benefit will go to the beneficiaries which are identified by the endower. So these beneficiaries are identified by this endower. First of all, endower creates a trust. He chooses and appoints managers and mutawallis, or maybe criteria, and those people are responsible for managing the property, and the benefit of that property goes to the beneficiary. And because the beneficiary gets the benefit, the sadaqah jariyah of this goes to the endower, even if the person is dead and has reached in the life hereafter stage. That is what sadaqah jariyah is. This is how the structure of waqf is. So sadaqah jariyah comes regular sadaqah, regular jariyah, regular perpetual charity. Now, subject matter, this is very important for us to understand. The original subject matter of waqf consisted of properties of a permanent nature, lands, fields, gardens, but gradually all sorts of properties were made subject matter of the waqf, and there are instances of even animals were made subject matter of waqf. And this is important for us to remember because we are talking in the context of cash waqf today. In fact, once Hazrat Umar went to a market and he found that he had given one horse in charity, he has as waqf, and he found that that horse was available in the market for sale. So he came and asked Prophet ﷺ that, can I buy it back? And Prophet advised that, no, you can't buy it back. Whatever you have given in charity, you cannot buy it back. But then there are reports from Sahaba, other Sahaba, that whenever they found that their Waqf property has come back to the market, they bought it and gave it in charity again. So these are also examples available. That it's not that only Waqf and only immovable properties can be made Waqf. And we also know that not everybody is endowed with lands. Every people, everyone, irrespective of they are rich or poor or small or big, educated or not, they have the same desire. And Allah Ta'ala cannot be unfair to them that only rich people can create waqf. Even poor people can create waqf according to whatever level they have. And this opportunity is not possible if we define that waqf can only be given in the form of landed property. So we find that a stage was reached when all types of movable properties which were inconsumable by the use were made subject matter of waqf. Working cattle, implements of husbandry, copies of Quran for reciting in mosque, war horses, swords, chest of money for loan to the poor were made subject matter of waqf. So we have all kinds of examples available as waqf. There is a very important case in India, which is known as Mr. Sadiq and Fakhr Jahan Begum. The question before the Privy Council, this is a pre-independence British government period, was whether a valid waqf can be made of government promissory note. That and government promissory notes could be cash today. And its answer was affirmative. It has been held that cash, a grove, and offering made in shrine are all valid subject matter of waqf. So these examples are galore in the history. We can take cue from that. Types of waqf can be identified as on the basis of beneficiary. It can also be identified on the type of assets also. So beneficiary wise, the most important waqf, as we discussed, is a charitable waqf. This is also known as Waqf al-Khairi or public endowment. Awamun Nas, benefit for the public in general. And this occurs when the beneficiaries of the usufruct consist of ongoing charitable concerns such as needy, hospitals, schools, feeding of birds, animals, and any similar vehicles that achieve general well-being of society. In fact, I came across a waqf in Tunisia, which was created by a lady. To the money of that waqf was to be paid to musicians who play music in the hospital to soothe the people who are admitted there. So we found that even waqf for music or waqf for playing music was created in Tunisia. And of course, feeding of animals and feeding of birds, etc., is very, very common. And all kinds of big laboratories, libraries, hospitals, schools, madrasa, etc., we find that was created through waqf. So Waqf al-Khairi is one, which is known as charitable waqf. We also have a family waqf. Many people trace this to the hadith that was reported from Zubair bin Talha bin Zubair, radhiyallahu anhu, where Prophet said that I refer to the grave, to the orchard, date palm, that you can make your family and relative also a beneficiary in this. So family waqf also is there, a concept is there, but not many people appreciate, especially if you go to the cases related to waqf, you will find many adverse ruling denying this concept, because originally the concept of waqf is only for waqf al-khair or public benefits. But family waqf is also found, which is known as waqf al-ahli or waqf al-zurri. These are family endowments. And when people create waqf for their family, this is possible, and there is genuine reason for it. For example, once a person becomes, let's say, take example, once a person becomes a businessman, and he is worried that after he's gone, his property may be distributed among the heirs, and business might not continue, or business might get divided, and everyone will be loser. So they might create a waqf so that business can continue, and the fruit of that can be shared with the family member, not the corpus itself. So family waqf is imaginable that instead of dividing your company into among your heirs, you decide that only the fruit or the revenue or the profit can be shared in the family members. So that is also the concept, but charitable waqf remains the most important. Uh, we also have examples of joint waqf where charity and family is mixed up. And the best example could be Hamdard Waqf. Family also has claim in that Waqf, as well as a good portion of money earned by Hamdard Dawakhana that we know in the subcontinent, very famous in subcontinent India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. The very famous product is Sharbat Ruafza. So this is the family as well, where the benefit is driven by both. So it has a common benefit of protecting the family, as well as a portion of that goes into charitable activities. So this also is an example. In addition, we have religious waqf nowadays, because many times people feel that who is a waqif and it is not created. So many of the new properties of madarsa, khanqa, taqiya, tombs, graveyards, shrines, imam badas, these are also considered to be religious waqf. So based on the nature, these are things. Waqf is, as I said, there have been examples. So waqf is permissible in the form of real estate, for permanent feature, fittings, movable assets, money, Sharia compliant shares, sukuk. And contemporary scholars, the most important thing is that they take a lenient view and permit temporary waqf as well. And if you really think that all those arguments that it has to be permanent, actually, what is permanent? It is only a matter of how long that life of that waqf was. Where is the well that was created bought by Hazrat Usman today? Where is that well? Where is that Khaybar property of Hazrat Umar? Is it still a waqf? What happened to so many things? So ultimately, what happens that idea of permanency was to protect exploitation or misuse of that property. But otherwise, normally nothing remains permanent in nature. It is only how long it lived or not. So nothing is absolutely permanent. Even if you think that waqf is permanent, it is not holding true. So today's scholars are also allowing temporary waqf. If I cannot create permanent waqf, should I not be allowed to have a temporary waqf? It still serves some purpose. Maybe as long as it is there, whatever is the short or long life of it, at least to that extent, I'll keep getting benefit even if I'm gone, even if I'm dead. So the concept of temporary waqf is also there with certain conditions, of course. This one I have already said. Hazrat Umar gave a horse in charity, and later he saw it being sold in the market. So this one I have already said. Now, real estate is the most common type of waqf. And this is very easy to understand. So such waqf operated in a straightforward manner. Income was generated by renting residential or commercial building, garages, factories, store, warehouses, or any form of property in urban areas. And then agricultural area assets in rural areas that could be cultivated were also used as real estate waqf, where the plot or plantation would be developed and harvested using muzara. Muzara is a crop sharing contract or sharecropping, which means that the harvest was shared between the waqf and that owns the asset and those who worked and farmed the land. So if it is rural property that is waqf, somebody will farm it and the produce will be shared, and whatever produce one gets will be used for the objectives of the waqf. So real estate waqf was there. Waqf of stocks also is very common, and this was developed in 20th century. That means most recent, just last century. The origin of this form of endowment come from Europe actually. Such waqf is established when a well-to-do businessman endows his shares in several incorporated joint stock companies in form of waqf to a charity. Let's say you have got Wipro shares of let's say 5,000 shares. You say that 1,000 of your ownership is now waqf. So 1,000 shares, henceforth, the benefit that one gets, maybe in the form of dividend, maybe in the form of when the stocks get a split and you get bonuses. So more shares will come in. So more shares will get allotted out of 1,000 stocks and the dividend. So those could be given waqf, and this was allowed. Again, the idea, was received from Europe, and that trust started developing in those times, or much before as well. So these are details how this share should be managed, but obviously there is no guarantee that share value cannot come to zero. If the company goes bankrupt, share value can be zero also. If the company's shares are not traded, shares could be illiquid also. But nothing stops people from donating or creating waqf of whatever they have in their possession. That is the idea. Sukuk is nothing but a trust certificate, or more popularly, it is known as Islamic bond. So that kind of waqf sukuk is also common. In fact, very recently, Singapore government, there was a waqf property, and that Muslims were having liquidity problem. At that point in time, people created this idea that everyone will create some kind of, they will create some kind of paper, and that paper will be bought in by people against money, and that money which is accumulated by issuing sukuk, which is a trust certificate or bond, will be utilized to develop that property as a waqf, and which will have its own future income in the future. So this is a very, very recent and very contemporary example of waqf concept, and sukuk is nothing but it's another kind of security. So whether it is shares, or whether it is cash, or whether it is bond, these all are soft papers. These are all paper actually, maybe electronic paper in some time. So these are used as waqf rather than the hard property, because more and more hard properties are becoming scarce. Real estate holdings are coming down. People are not able to create, but whatever is coming up in value is stocks, shares, cash, etc. And people are using that as a waqf. Cash waqf is now being used in countries like Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Pakistan, UAE, Kuwait, UK, US, among several countries. And these are the examples of cash waqf. So waqf shares, again, khairi waqf used in Malaysia, Sudan, Indonesia. Takaful is nothing but Islamic insurance. And those who are aware of Islamic insurance, how it operates, know that one of the model of takaful is waqf model of takaful. So takaful could be mudaraba model, wakala model, but finally in Africa and subcontinent, this model is gaining credence, where the company, which is the insurance company, first of all creates a waqf, and then other people add to that waqf in the form of premium, and whosoever is part of this asset, they get benefit. So the idea is that in waqf you can be contributor and beneficiary both. You can contribute. Otherwise, you cannot give charity, normal charity, and take it back. Remember the hadith and teaching of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, where Hazrat Umar went and asked that, can I buy this? He said, you can't take it. You can't buy also, you can't take your charity. But waqf is a concept where you can be contributor as well as the beneficiary. And waqf takaful is one very fine example of this concept. This concept is not only in Malaysia, but also elsewhere in practice, like South Africa and Pakistan. Direct cash waqf is again khairi, all charitable waqf for public, adopted in Malaysia, Singapore, Bahrain, UAE, etc. So direct cash, you just pay, like Ketto, you pay it. This is also a kind of charity that, as long as there could be corpus also created. So there are people who can create a corpus through cash, and then that cash can be utilized, and that utilization, whatever benefit you get, can be used for the beneficiaries. Mobile cash waqf, all kinds of, you remember, all kinds of compulsory cash waqf. I gave example, corporate cash waqf, deposit cash waqf, cooperative cash waqf, you can imagine all kinds of, if some people join together, they collect cash and that cash is utilized, invested somewhere, and the revenues received from that investment is also shared with the beneficiaries, is also a kind of things. So waqf mutual fund concept is also becoming common. So when it comes to cash waqf, we have all kinds of cash waqf examples available in the world today. Some innovations. I think I'm running out of my time. Yeah. Nazim, how much time do I have?
We have 10 minutes. Then we can open it up for questions.
10 minutes. I'll try to run faster.
Sure.
Yeah, I have spent about 30 plus hours on this presentation, Azim. So obviously there are so many things I wish to talk, but we can
continue. Time is not a problem. We can continue until 5:30.
No. I want to have time for discussion with the participants as well, because I see some very, very prominent people here, including Akramul Jabbar Khan Saab, who has been commissioner and he has been a flag bearer of Save Waqf in the country today. So he is there, and there are other people also I'm seeing, very prominent people from the academia and as well as activists and lawyers I'm seeing here. So I wish to save some time for their interaction also. There may be their feedback which they have gained through their experience in the field, unlike me. My experience is none. It is just whatever I studied, I'm trying to share here. So money can be donated as waqf because this is the original form. So there are ideas of temporary waqf is also possible, and money, because ultimately what you get, even if the property is made waqf, the fruit will come in the form of money. So ultimately it is money that comes. So original form of waqf is money, as emphasized by Muhammad Ibn Abdullah al-Ansari, the companion of Imam Zafar, and supported by Ibn Taymiyyah also. And therefore shares of sukuk fall under this type of waqf. So we have examples of this. Waqf is permitted on movable goods, vehicles, machinery, equipment, production equipment, internet sites, digital application. We can have websites for you can create a website as a waqf from your side, and whosoever benefits from that can also be. So it all depends on, we are moving into new class of wealth, right? A big land property may be useless, but a good website could be very productive as far as utilization of resources coming from. Imagine, Facebook being waqf, you can imagine the benefit. It's website. It just, so how many properties, if all waqf of India are put together, they cannot be even fraction of Facebook, as far as the benefit is concerned, as far as the liquidity is concerned, as far as the earning capability is concerned. So even website could be waqf. Digital applications, programs could be waqf. You can make an application which helps people, and whatever is revenue generated, that can be used for waqf purposes. So company shares, stocks, sukuk, etc. All these are new innovations across globe. These days, we are finding a lot of blockchain technology being used for various issues faced by waqf, but that is something which perhaps, if permits, I'll talk about that later. This is difference between waqf and trust, but this is more of an academic interest, that waqf is non-revocable, trust deed may not be permanent, waqf corpus is immobilized, and the settler interest may take benefit, and the motive is generally secular. In waqf, the motive is religious, etc., etc. That is not correct actually. In normal waqf also, motive can be worldly very much, like family waqf, etc. And these are some differences just to differentiate between waqf and trust. Unfortunately, the countries I know, India is among those countries. Maybe I will come on that. So these are challenges. I'll come on India later, a minute later. These are challenges. Heavy focus on instrumentation than objectives. So we are caught in the process now, rather than the objective. A lot of processes. Who could be owner, who could not be owner, what property can be given, what property cannot be given, what can be alienated, what cannot be alienated, what can be revoked, what cannot be revoked, what is acceptable asset as waqf, what is not, etc., etc. So a lot of focus on this has not helped us. Most important problem that we are facing globally is financing facilities. So a lot of Waqf have become unusable, have become very old, have become outdated, and we need financing arrangement to make them work better. That is the biggest challenge as of it. Governance is a perennial issue. There are biggest issue. So whether it is everyone, right from the owner to mutawallis to government to whosoever gets their hand on the Waqf property, they will not leave it easily. And that is the biggest challenge, governance. Legal protection, it's not considered as a public property, and there are other challenges also legal, because you can't get it evacuated very easily. There are so many challenges. Even you know that this is a Waqf property, somebody is occupying it, but it becomes very difficult. Sometimes obsolete objective also, because when we have tied too much focus on the objective of Waqf, what happens if the objective itself has become redundant? And there are examples. We can imagine if somebody created a Waqf for slaves, where are those slaves? Somebody created Waqf for well, where is that well? And there could be many other things, very old libraries, very other things. And then we all know that a very specific case in our country is partition of this country, which led to huge migration of people from two areas, Bengal and Punjab, and thousands and thousands of properties in the other side of where people migrated from have become unusable. There are no beneficiaries available. There is hardly anything, and obviously the properties are in shambles. So these are the challenges. Lack of new Waqf. We often talk about all kinds of what has happened in the past, what is not, what is this, what is that, but hardly we focus on creating new kinds of Waqf that we spoke about. Can we not try, like the subject of today is not about crying for the past mistakes, but also trying the new generation, right? So lack of new Waqf, lack of qualified assets, what size, what value, what nature, there is a confusion. As I said, they can create a society out of Waqf, they can create a lending platform out of Waqf, etc. So a lot of confusion and lack of awareness is there. Lack of public faith in Waqf administration, heavy misuse. When we see around us, the whole concept gets a very, very poor trust, poor trust in our mind. The moment we hear about Waqf, we think of somebody misusing it, somebody not using it, and therefore it becomes very difficult for people to create new kinds of Waqf. They are always afraid about their own image, etc., and then it becomes a hindrance. uh, we have that is one my personal view, the last one, availability of better legal architecture, because India is one such country where Waqf is still a non-secular subject. Even in Muslim countries, Waqf is a secular subject. That means you are in the bigger pool. But here, maybe because zamindar, Muslim zamindar, they wanted to protect themselves from East India Company, maybe Britishers, they tried to say that no, this is our personal law, this is our religious law, you cannot interfere because Waqf is for the religious purposes only. And they always struggle for creating a very separate class of law for themselves, and that became outdated, because once you are out of the main pool, because if you are part of the main pool, then anybody, any new rule, any new any old provision will affect everyone. You will have a lot of people supporting you because they also have interest in that. But the moment you take yourself out, on what grounds, then protection becomes a big issue. And that is what has happened in Indian Waqf scenario, at least, that we said that this is a prayer, and we ended up getting lesser and lesser legal protection for our own cause. If we had moved on to trust-based architecture, why are we calling Waqf as different from trust? Trust has better architecture today. It can serve the same purpose. You can create trust according to whatever you wish, but it is better protected than Waqf today. So that is something which I thought I'll share. Uh, there are examples. I said I think I should be finishing it very quickly. Yeah, 4:59. Zamzam Tower in Mecca is a great example of Waqf sukuk. Most suitable in modern time. Anyone, even poor, can contribute. If we create a cash waqf, even if somebody is contributing 1 rupees, 2 rupees, 5 rupees, 100 rupees, how does it matter? Somebody can create millions, somebody can create one, but at least let them have the benefit of having that I have contributed to this, and as long as this continues, my reward from my God will be there. So those kind of suggestions are important, I think. Future lies, in my view, in new model that relies on modern form of wealth and professional wealth management rather than just the old form of wealth, which is real estate, etc. Modern form of wealth is far, far more valuable than the entire globe today. And if we do not move to modern form of wealth, I think that we will not be able to do justice to the concept of waqf, which is very pious in religion and very helpful to the society. You can have if somebody had invested few $1,000s in Bitcoin, they could have created a huge waqf today. Forget about any other property. So all the kinds of new technology and new assets are very, very important. The use of technology in waqf management is very important because a lot of things are inefficient, non-transparent, and technology can play a very important role in addressing those problems. Capacity building, provision of social good is another issue. Many of the mutawallis, even if they have right intention, but do they have right capability? Do they understand what they are in charge of? Are they capable of dealing profitably with the experts on the other side? Can they get the property developed without being exploited? Can they get a financial deal which is best? Are they capable of? So these are the issue. Capacity building is an issue. Waqf in India, this is a long subject. I will have to stop here. Waqf in India, all the story right from Muslim rule to how East India Company to etc. Then these are major problem of Waqf in India: survey records, encroachments, litigations, financial constraints, issue of preservation. These are major problems. And Islamic Fiqha Academy has published a book on this subject by calling paper from various scholars across India. And that book sums up the issues faced by Awqaf in India. General issues is that Awqaf do not have legal status of public property, Waqf do not have actionable power against encroachers, representatives, quota of representatives of government and Muslims are not fair. Mutawallis have been using the properties as fiefdom. They are selling properties, renting it at much lower rate than normal. All kinds of corruption, etc. Even whatever rent is due, they are not very quick and prompt in recovering them. Fiqhi issues is about istibdal, what to do where the people, the beneficiaries are not there. So thousands of properties, waqf properties in Punjab, but no beneficiaries there. What to do with that? Can we not replace it? Can we not sell it, that property, and get a property in Bombay? Will it not serve the purpose? Right? Today, the person who has given that sadaqah jariyah is no longer available today. But if that property is bestowed, exchanged for a property in Mumbai, his whole purpose will serve, and his whole purpose will be galvanized. So can we not do that? Now, if we create rule that it cannot be changed, it cannot be, ownership cannot be changed, it cannot be sold, it cannot be rented, then we are victim of the same rule through which we wanted to protect waqf. So those are issues now. We created rule, but now those rules are coming against our own objective, istibdal. How to develop that? So waqf property, but you don't have cash. How to develop that? If nobody can come and get it rent, how to do that? So development of property becomes an issue because of the rules. And as I said, that there are many objectives which are no longer valid. So what should happen to that waqf property? If the objective for which it was created is no longer available or valid, what to do with that waqf? Should it not change? If change, to what level? So these are the issues. Thank you very much, Nazim and everyone, for this opportunity. I hope I have, yes, I'm 4-5 minutes late, but we can take questions from people. And also I see some very senior people. So Nazim, please allow them to share their thoughts also, because this is a platform where people would be sharing. Of course, time is a constraint. So I hope that everyone will be keeping that in mind. So over to you, Nazim.
Yes, thank you very much, Shariq Sahib. It was a lovely session. So before going to the questions, as you said, there are a few esteemed dignitaries in as the attendees. So I would just open it up for the dignitaries. If you have any suggestions to add, you can just unmute yourself. You can add some suggestions, or you can raise your hand. I can unmute you. So I'll just open it up for the esteemed participants with us.
अकरम अकरम जब्बार खान साहब से कहिए नाजिम. अकरमुल जब्बार खान साहब हैं.
जी.
जी.
Akram साहब, if you could add.
नाजिम, please unmute Akram Jabbar Khan साहब.
Just 1 minute.
Yes. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
It
assalam.
was a wonderful session.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Part of Waqf, which we were not aware about, cash Waqf. Wonderful session. But then there are things about immobile properties, their encroachment thereon and eviction, etc., for which we are working. So that's a very long thing. We'll realize here. Shakil Bhai is an old veteran, Shakil Ahmad Saab. So, but congratulations, and congratulations again for referring to Rabbi Mukhaira, who was the first Waqif in Islam. He was a Jew, but he was the first Waqif. Thank you very much. Thank you for an excellent talk.
Akram Saab, you know anyone else also from the Waqf field, or maybe people can share their thoughts without.
Shakil Ahmad Saab. Shakil Ahmad Saab.
Please, Shakil Saab, please.
This concept of cash Waqf, we should try and develop. I have also suggested on this group. I think yesterday morning itself, and we have to work upon it, and it is feasible and workable also. We have to work. It is new concept, of course, but inshallah we have to work. And person like our today's dignitary, we can use his experience and such type of persons. Inshallah we will have to do. I am for working together. Inshallah we will. If we can get this paper which he has read today, it will be beneficial for all of us. Thank you.
अकरम साहब, मैं प्रेजेंटेशन ग्रुप में डाल दूंगा.
जी, बहुत अच्छा, शुक्रिया, जज़ाकल्लाह.
Thank you. Yeah, Nadim, you can take the question now.
Yes, so now we can have questions. Anyone from the attendees, कोई question है, आप या तो chat field में type कर सकते हैं, I'll read it out, or you can just raise your hand. Yes, Mr. Naushad, you can unmute yourself and you can ask.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum, Shariq sir. It's always a pleasure to hear your session. It was, mashallah, bahut acha tha. So one question I have is that with reference to temporary works that you mentioned, which are being allowed under modern laws. So is it upfront required to be disclosed as to up to what period one needs to give that one is giving as a waqf, or it can be taken back at will? Because if it is taken back at will, then beneficiaries may not actually have visibility as to when they are getting the benefit. So just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Thank you very much for this technical question. In fact, I couldn't think of this in this way. So thanks a lot, Jazakallah. What I understand from temporary work, and I am subject to correction also, because with all the studies that we have been doing, I still find myself quite lacking in going in the depth of waqf. It's a huge field. Temporary means the objective itself is not permanent, in the sense that what we understand from waqf point of view, that the corpus is permanently dedicated to. So there are possibilities of activities where it is a let's say milestone based waqf. We want to do something, and these are the milestones. So the moment you achieve the milestones, the objective is served, and therefore that gets over. So those kind of waqf which is not declared permanent in nature, it is temporary, but not temporary in the sense of abruptly stopping its activity. That activity could be based on milestone, that could be a certain targeted segment, and once that is achieved, then it can be wound up. So that is what I understand from this concept.
Yeah, thank you. Jazakallah khair, Shariq bhai.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Nazim, anyone else?
I think we got one question in the chat. Can we use cash waqf as a secondary waqf to develop an already endowed property which is in dire needs of funds?
Why not? Why not? You see, let's say that we have a property, landed property, and that has liquidity problem because that cannot be sold, that cannot be even utilized in any other manner except for the beneficiaries. And to develop that, we can create cash waqf. Let's say that a important piece of land requires 10 crore rupees for development. We can have 10 crore rupees cash raised from public in the form of waqf. That money can be utilized to develop that property. Now there are two beneficiaries in Sadaqah Jariyah beneficiaries in that sense. That person who dedicated that property and the persons who have created cash waqf to develop that property. Inshallah, both will get reward from Allah. Otherwise, nobody gets benefit. So it is the best that cash waqf is used to develop properties like what I spoke about Singapore, the land. The land would have gone to the government because the people were not able to, the waqf didn't have liquidity and financing support, and if people were not allowed to contribute, that land would have gone. So people contributed through waqf sukuk, and then the land got developed, and now it is used by the people and the beneficiary, etc. So I think it is a very good idea that cash waqf is initially utilized for developing underdeveloped or undeveloped properties. That could be a good idea.
Okay, Shariq sir, we have another question. Who governs waqf property in India? Government, private, or both? Can you share some insights on this?
Can I request Akram Sahab to answer this query? Akram Sahab, please don't mind.
Yes. Actually, the Waqf is appointed. Waqf appoints the Mutawalli to govern. Mutawalli or management committee, they govern, but for government purposes, the Waqf board created by the government, the Waqf board, they are superintendents of the property. They supervise that the property is not misused, not sold away, etc. So actually the Waqf board, they are not owners, they are superintendents. And so similarly, Mutawallis, they are not owners, they are managers. Unless the property is actually endowed to them only.
Like Waqf al-Ali. So, yeah, Akram Sahab.
Thank you.
Okay, so what we have two-tier structure as far as Waqf management in the country is concerned. We have Central Waqf Council and we have State Waqf Council, and these councils are actually created by Indian Parliament to work as a supervisor of the properties. But actual power of the property, which is Waqf, rests with the people who are known as Mutawallis in our country, or maybe manager of that property. So more power is rests with the people who are mandated to manage the property. But there are Central Waqf Council and then State Waqf Council, and then there was you might be knowing that in the third largest landowner in India is Waqf after army and railway, a huge property under Waqf. Except UP, where we have two state Waqf councils, Shia State Council, Waqf Council, and Sunni Waqf Council. All states have one, and different laws have been developed right from 1850s onwards to 1930 to 1954 to 1995, etc. We also tried to develop NAWADCO, National Waqf Development Company, which was supposed to be having a joint venture between public and private partnership, PPP model. And the idea was that this company will raise financial resources on commercial terms to develop Waqf property in different states, and then it will get revenue out of developing that property, and then after getting its revenue and investment profit, it will walk out. So idea was that all the Waqf which are having financial liquidity problem and financing problem, this company will play the role of a facilitator to develop the property and then get its return on the investment that it made while developing the property. And then once it is done, then it will exit from the contract, and then it will go to develop other. So National Waqf Development Company, NAWADCO, was developed. Unfortunately, government ideas remains on paper mostly. And this is also the case with this Waqf Amendment Acts and NAWADCO, etc.
Okay. Shariq sir, there is one question. What is secondary Waqf? Are these like the shops attached to a mosque?
Akram Sahab? Akram Jabbar Sahab has gone?
No, he's here.
Yes, no, I'm here.
जी,
ये सेकेंडरी औकाफ मैं पहली बार सुन रहा हूँ. प्रॉपर्टी जो एक्चुअली जो वक्फ में मतलब वाक़िफ जो प्रॉपर्टी जिसको इंडो करता है, उस पूरी प्रॉपर्टी का डिस्क्रिप्शन होता है और उससे एक स्पेसिफिक उनका वो होता है कि इस पर्पस के लिए इसकी आमदनी सर्व होगी, खर्च की जाएगी.
Okay.
तो सेकेंडरी औकाफ जो है, सकता है कहीं अल्फाज है, मैं आई एम सॉरी, आई एम नॉट फेमिलियर, लेकिन ये कि जो भी ओनरशिप है, क्योंकि जब एक बार प्रॉपर्टी वक्फ हो गई तो अल्लाह की ओनरशिप हो गई, वो प्रॉपर्टी अल्लाह की है. और हमारी लड़ाई इसी बात की है कि भाई हमारा अपना प्राइवेट लोगों की अगर हमारी 2 फुट भी जमीन होगी, हमारा पड़ोसी वो कर लेता तो हम लड़ते हुए सुप्रीम कोर्ट तक जाएंगे. लेकिन अल्लाह की जमीन जो दबाए बैठा उसके लिए हम कुछ नहीं कर रहे. तो अगर मस्जिद के बराबर दुकान है, जैसे फतेहपुरी मस्जिद का दिल्ली में एक मशहूर वो है कि जब उन्होंने खाली कराई किसी से, तो खाली करा के मुतवल्ली साहब ने अपने किसी रिश्तेदार को दे दी बहुत चीप रेंट पे, तो वो भी मिसयूज हुआ. जो पहले मिसयूज था, दैट मिसयूज कंटिन्यूज.
किसी ने हाँ यहाँ लिखा है तबस्सुम ने कि सेकेंडरी औकाफ आर लाइक शॉप्स अटैच्ड टू अ मॉस्क. बेसिकली होता क्या था, जब मस्जिदें बनाई जाती थी शहरों में, तो उनकी इनकम के लिए, जो उनके मेंटेनेंस के लिए जरूरत होती थी, तो उसी के दरमियान या उसी प्रोजेक्ट में दुकानों को भी शामिल करते थे. जैसा हमारे बॉम्बे की जामा मस्जिद में है, दुकानों से इतनी इनकम आ जाएगी कि मस्जिद को जो है किसी और के ऊपर डिपेंडेंट नहीं होना पड़ेगा. बेसिकली दिट वाज अ वेरी इनोवेटिव एंड गुड आइडिया दैट यू आर क्रिएटिंग एसेट दैट इज सेल्फ sustaining rather than depending on other people to support financially for its maintenance and development. So maybe that is secondary awqaf, means primarily that is the place is for mosque, but there are shops and there are other establishments which are created to support the main awqaf which is primary. Maybe in that context it is used.
Yes. और इसके अंदर एक और चीज भी ये she has asked, repossession of waqf properties has become a problem in India. So can you share some insights on this? She has, an example of Haryana is given.
अकरम साहब ने अभी कहा है, देखिए God's property is everybody's property, जो चाहे लूट ले. So it becomes very very difficult ना. It becomes very difficult because most of the property पे हम ही लोग काबिज हैं, हम ही उसको एक्सप्लॉइट करते हैं, हम ही उसके साथ मिसयूज करते हैं. एंड दैट इज वेयर आई गेव अ हिंट कि हमने जो है वक़फ़ को प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए जो रूल्स बनाए थे, हम आज उन्हीं रूल्स में बंध गए हैं. आज जो है ट्रस्टीज जो है दूसरी प्रॉपर्टीज का एक्शन ले सकते हैं, लेकिन वक़फ़ की प्रॉपर्टी में एक्शन लेने के लिए हु आर यू, व्हाई आर यू हैविंग प्रॉपर्टी, हैविंग इंटरेस्ट, राइट? अगर मुतवल्ली का इंटरेस्ट ना हो तो फिर अल्लाह की प्रॉपर्टी है, गॉड की प्रॉपर्टी है, कौन इसका ख्याल रखेगा? तो इट बिकम्स एवरीवनस प्रॉपर्टी, राइट? सो दैट इन माय व्यू हैज बिकम.
इसमें मैं एक बात कहना चाहूंगा कि वक्फ एक्ट में इंटरवीनर का कंसेप्ट है. आप अगर मुस्लिम हैं, आप अपना इंटरेस्ट दिखा के कहीं पे भी आप इंटरवीन कर सकते हैं. हम लोगों ने हाई कोर्ट में गए हुए हैं औरंगाबाद में इसी बात पे, इसी इश्यू पे कि मैं इंटरवीनर बनना चाह रहा था. कहीं पे एक फैसला पास होने वाला था, बिल्कुल रेडी था, खाली दस्तखत होने थे. तो वकील ने कहा कि साहब ये, वो मेरे दोस्त हैं वकील साहब, उन्होंने कहा साहब ये मामला अगर आप अपना वकालतनामा दे दें तो मैं उसको करूँ. तो खैर उन्होंने मेरी इंटरवीनरशिप रिजेक्ट की, साहब लास्ट मिनट पे आप इंटरवीनर नहीं बन सकते। हालांकि एक्ट में कहीं नहीं लिखा कि आप किस मिनट पे बन सकते हैं, कब नहीं बन सकते आप। बहरहाल वो हम उसके खिलाफ हाई कोर्ट में गए हुए हैं। तो आम पब्लिक जो है, जब जो मेन स्टेक होल्डर है, जो गरीब गुरबा हैं, यतामा हैं, बेवाएं हैं, मुअज्जिन हैं, इमाम हैं, आजकल जो हालात हैं, जो अभी जैसे हमारा ये लॉकडाउन के पीरियड में दोनों ईदैन गुजरी, तो अब उसमें हमारे लोगों को जो साल भर देखते थे बैठ के कुछ लोग कि भाई यहाँ कुछ पैसे मिलेंगे, तो अब वो उस वक्त अगर वो मान लीजिए कि हमारे पास उसका इतना बैलेंस नहीं है कि हम उनकी जरूरत पे हम काम आ सकें, तो वक्फ का मतलब क्या है? तो हम आम लोग अल्लाह की रजा के लिए बहुत कुछ कर सकते हैं। ये जो आपने आज कैश वक्फ की बात कही, या आखिर में मेरी बत्ती जली, मैं बहुत दिन से परेशान था कुछ प्रॉपर्टीज को लेके कि उनमें हम किस तरीके से करेंगे, हम कैसे पैसा फंड कैसे रेज करेंगे। इसलिए मुतवल्ली साहबान बहुत ही नेक लोग हैं। एक जमीन है भिंगार में, अहमदनगर में 40 एकड़ जमीन है, 45 एकड़, बाकी में 10-11 एकड़ में मौलाना वस्तानवी का मदरसा खाली पड़ी है। तो उसमें हम लोग चाहते हैं और उनको बराबर कन्विंस कर रहे हैं, और वो भी मायल है इस बात पे कि उसमें स्किल डेवलपमेंट का कुछ सेंटर खोला जाए, एक पीएससी खोली जाए, एक पेट्रोल पंप लगाया जाए, कुछ इसमें मतलब इस तरीके से कि उसकी आमदनी भी हो और उस पैसे को रिसाइकिल कर सके। लेकिन इनिशियल करने के लिए कहाँ से करेंगे, ये अभी तक दिमाग में नहीं आया था। ये जो आज आपने कैश वक्फ की बात की, तो अब इसके ऊपर मैं एक चीज पूछना चाहता हूँ, क्या हम केटो के अंदाज से कैश वक्फ बना सकते हैं? शारिक साहब, हेलो
शारिक साहब।
बिल्कुल, आई एम सॉरी, आई वाज म्यूटेड। सो आई एम सेइंग इट इज वेरी मच पॉसिबल। और नाजिम साहब जो हमारे प्रोग्राम के आज के होस्ट हैं, ये इस मामले में महारत भी रखते हैं। कभी कामयाब होते हैं, कभी नहीं भी होते हैं, लेकिन वो तो हम सबकी जिंदगी का हिस्सा है। लेकिन ही इज वेरी गुड एट दोज थिंग्स। सो इंशाल्लाह नाजिम साहब को भी हम लोग इन्वॉल्व करेंगे, सो दैट हिज एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ रेजिंग फंड्स थ्रू टेक्नोलॉजी इज आल्सो यूटिलाइज्ड फॉर कैश वक्फ।
जी इंशाल्लाह।
इंशाल्लाह। बस एक बात मैं और ऐड करना चाहता हूँ बाकी सब साहबान के लिए कि इवन हम और आप जो बात कर रहे हैं, अभी असर की नमाज पढ़ने जाएंगे, लेकिन हमारी नमाज अभी चालू, हमारी इबादत है। जो हम किसी नेक काम के लिए हम जिक्र कर रहे हैं, डिस्कशन कर रहे हैं, ये इबादत है। और खास तौर से जो अल्लाह की जायदाद है उसको हम बचाने के लिए, आम आदमी के लिए, गरीब गुरबा के लिए ये इबादत है। तो मैं लोगों से कहना चाहूंगा, बहुत सारे लोग कहते हैं भाई इस झंझट में कौन पड़े। मेरे एक दोस्त थे, उनसे वो रिटायर हुए, तो मैंने वेलकम किया कि भाई वेलकम टू रिटायरीज क्लब, और अब ये काम करना शुरू कर दो। फौरन इमीडिएटली ये रिएक्टेड कि भाई मुझे इस पचड़े में मत डालो। तो मैं कहता हूँ अगर आपने खाली सोच भी लिया, दिमाग में ख्याल भी आया आपके, तो अल्लाह ने आपकी सवाब की चरखी चलाना शुरू कर दी। कामयाब आप होंगे नहीं होंगे ये भी अल्लाह का जुरिडिक्शन है, वो चाहेगा तो आप कामयाब होंगे, नहीं चाहेगा नहीं होंगे। लेकिन सोचना तो बहुत बहुत अच्छा आपका वो टॉक रही माशाल्लाह। नाजिम साहब आपको मुबारकबाद। आपका नंबर मुझे अगर मिल जाए तो मैं इंशाल्लाह फिर बात करूंगा।
जी बिल्कुल, मैं आपको अभी एक मैसेज कर देता हूं मैं इंशाल्लाह।
फॉर अलीगढ़ के जो स्टूडेंट हैं उनके लिए और लोगों के लिए, अकरमुल जब्बार खान साहब अलीग हैं, और he is retired as a chief income tax commissioner and he is based out of Pune and one of the most prominent faces for liberating waqf properties in India. इनकी पूरी एक तरह के आर्मी कहिए या वॉलंटियर्स की आर्मी कहिए, जो बहुत तरह के वकला और एक्टिविस्ट और इस हर तरह के इनके पास टीम है माशाल्लाह। तो अकरम साहब, ये प्रोग्राम खास तौर से हम लोगों ने अलीगढ़ के जो बच्चे हैं उनके लिए भी किया था, तो बहुत सारे बच्चे जो है वो आज अलीगढ़ से भी हैं। नाजिम, ओवर टू यू।
यस, वन लास्ट क्वेश्चन, शाहनवाज साहब आपने हैंड रेज किया था, सो वुड यू लाइक टू आस्क द क्वेश्चन इफ शाहनवाज साहब इज देयर?
जी जी, अस्सलाम वालेकुम। मैंने हाथ रेस किया था, लेकिन जब अकरम साहब के जब आंसर्स मिले मुझे ऐसी एक जगह किस तरह से कैश वक्फ को इस्तेमाल किया जाए। एक्चुअली जब शारिक साहब ने बोला कि हम छोटे से छोटे पैसे को भी इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं, राइट, सो इट वाज रियली एक्साइटेड टू नो दैट, क्योंकि यहाँ पे अभी बहुत सारे ऐसे ऑडियंस होंगे वक्फ के बारे में, तो मुझे भी उतनी जानकारी नहीं थी। अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह शारिक साहब की वजह से काफ़ी जानकारी मिली, लेकिन एक दिल में हमेशा ख्वाहिश रहती थी कि किस तरह से चीज़ों को मतलब दिया जाए जो वक्फ, मेरे जहन में ये था कि वक्फ बोले तो जिंदगी भर के लिए, वो भी ठीक ही है, मतलब दायमी परपेचुअल। तो अभी हम कुछ ऐसा निज़ाम या कुछ ऐसा प्लेटफॉर्म जहाँ पे हम लोग कुछ उस चीज़ का मतलब जो है ना क्या बोलते हैं, सपोर्ट कर सके इन टर्म्स ऑफ कैश, इवन स्मॉल। तो ये मैं चाह रहा था कि मतलब हम लोगों को कुछ मालूम पड़े कि कुछ ऐसी प्लेटफॉर्म है क्या जहाँ पे हम कर सकते हैं।
वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन हारून साहब, शहनवाज साहब। अकरम साहब, शहनवाज साहब जो है वो यहाँ की जो हमारे मुल्क की एक फुल्ली लिस्टेड शरिया कंप्लाइंट कंपनी है BSc में आफ्टरवेयर, उसके फाउंडिंग टीम में से हैं, बहुत सीनियर पोजीशन पे हैं। और मेरा तो यही कहना होगा कि शहनवाज साहब आप अपनी टीम में बात कीजिए फाउंडर से, और आप कहिए कि हम लोग अपने अपने हिस्से का जो है सब लोग मिल करके 100-100, 200 शेयर जो है वक़फ़ करते हैं, और उस वक़फ़ में पूरे मैनेजमेंट से मिल करके बात करिए कि हम अपने हिस्से का शेयर वक़फ़ करते हैं, और इससे जो भी होगा वो कार्य खैर में उसका इस्तेमाल होगा। अल्लाह ताला उसके ज़रिए भी आपको नेकी देगा, क्या पता अल्लाह ताला उसके ज़रिए आपकी कंपनी में भी बरकत और अता करे उसके तहत। और इसके अलावा बहुत सारे और आइडियाज़ आ सकते हैं, लेकिन ये एक ऐसी चीज़ है जो आप लोगों के हाथ में है, और आप लोग फाउंडर मिल करके आपस में बात करिए कि जो मेरी शेयर होल्डिंग है उसमें से मैं इतना पोर्शन जो है करना चाहता हूँ, और अगर परसेंटेज में तय करेंगे तो मेरे पास भी जो शेयर होल्डिंग है मैं भी उसमें शामिल रहूंगा इंशाल्लाह।
बहुत अच्छी एक आपने गाइडलाइन दी, मतलब वहाँ तो सोचा ही नहीं था मैंने। आई वाज जस्ट थिंकिंग अबाउट कैश, यू नो, कि कैश को करना है। तो नहीं, इंशाल्लाह जरूर इस बारे में सोचेंगे शारिक साहब। लेकिन मैं ये सोचा था अभी यहाँ पे बहुत सारे, मतलब मैंने भी किसी लोगों को रेफरेंस दिया था कि आओ जरा वक्फ के बारे में सुनो, तो उनके भी जहन में होगा, जिनके पास शेयर्स नहीं है वो क्या करेंगे, मतलब ना वो कैसे अपने पैसे का यूटिलाइज करें, मतलब अगर देना है तो कहीं हमको देना है पैसे एज अ कैश वक्फ, तो अभी अपने पास कोई प्लेटफॉर्म है या मतलब डेवलपिंग है?
देखिए शहनवाज साहब, बहुत मैं इस चीज़ों को, कानून की वजह से वो चीज़ें कॉम्प्लिकेट होती हैं, मजहब उतना कॉम्प्लिकेटेड नहीं जितना कानून बना देता है उसको। सिंपल सी बात है, हमारे नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने कहा है कि इंसान के मरने के बाद तमाम चीज़ें ख़त्म हो जाती हैं सिवाय 3 चीज़ों के। एक वो सदक़ा जारिया है, जो उसने ज़िंदगी में कोई ऐसा काम किया जिससे लोग आज भी मुस्तफ़ीद हो रहे हों। एक वो उसकी सौलेह औलाद है, और एक वो जो है उसका इल्म है जो उसने बांटा है। आप जितना भी इल्म बांटेंगे वो खुद ही आपका सदका है, पहली बात। तो आपके वालिद साहब जैसे टीचर हैं, ये उनका सदका है, उनके शागिर्द पता नहीं दुनिया में कहाँ कहाँ हैं, उन्होंने अपना वक्फ क्रिएट कर लिया उस इल्म से। उनके लिए कोई जरूरत नहीं, अल्लाह ताला करे उनको और भी वक़फ़ कर लें वो, लेकिन उनका इल्म ही उनके लिए वक़फ़ है। हमारे अकरमुल जब्बार खान साहब दिन रात क्रिएट कर रहे हैं नॉलेज को कि कैसे चीज़ों को बचाई जाए, ये उनका सदक़ा जारिया है। अल्लाह ताला न जाने कितने तरीके से उनको रिवॉर्ड करेगा कि भाई तुमने इसी की कोशिश की, लोगों को वक़फ़ के बारे में बताया। शहनवाज साहब, आपके पास तो तीनों चीज़ें हैं, आपको अल्लाह ताला खूब से सालेह नेक औलाद दे, हम सबको दे अल्लाह ताला, लेकिन वो आपके लिए सदक़ा जारिया है। आप जो नॉलेज शेयर कर रहे हैं वो आपके लिए सदक़ा जारिया है। और कोई भी काम जो हम शुरू कर सकते हैं, जिस भी लेवल से शुरू कर सकते हैं, जैसा कि मैंने बताया कि परमानेंसी जो है वो कभी नहीं होती है, परमानेंसी इज ए रिलेटिव टर्म। अगर हमने वक़फ़ को परमानेंट भी कह दिया तो भी वक़फ़ खत्म होगा कभी न कभी, 100 साल में, 200 साल में, 300 साल में, 50 साल में, 25 साल में, लेकिन उसके पीछे जो एफर्ट है वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। हमने ये रूल बना करके परमानेंसी का जो है मैं समझता हूँ कि हमने नुकसान किया। हमने बहुत सारे लोगों को वक़फ़ क्रिएट करने से महरूम कर दिया, ऐसे कानून बनाए कि लोग वक़फ़ क्रिएट करना भूल गए कि मेरी कहाँ सलाहियत है, मैं कैसे वक़फ़ कर सकता हूँ। अगर हमने वक़्फ़ को आसान बनाया होता तो हज़ारों हज़ार लाख लोग जो है वक़फ़ कर सकते थे। कोई प्रॉपर्टी वक़्फ़ करता है, कोई वेबसाइट वक़्फ़ करता है, कोई लाइब्रेरी वक़्फ़ करता है, कोई जो है ट्रांसपोर्ट है। आपने एक एम्बुलेंस बना दी, बम्बई शहर में असलम साहब की एम्बुलेंस है, वो वक़्फ़ है, वो लोगों के काम आ रही है। वो एक टूटी फूटी मारुति सुजुकी है या वैन है, वो एक वक़्फ़ है। हम क्यों बहुत बड़ा सोचते हैं कि हम जो है बहुत बड़ी प्रॉपर्टी लाएंगे तभी वक़्फ़ होगा। उसमें जो दवाएं दी जा रही हैं वो वक़्फ़ हैं, वो उससे लोग सही होते हैं, उनके फैमिली के बीमारियां दूर होती हैं, ये सब वक़्फ़ है। हम जिस तरफ निगाह दौड़ाएं, मैं ये काम कर रहा हूँ, मैं समझता हूँ यही मेरे लिए सदक़ा जारिया है कि मैं अपनी कोशिश कर रहा हूँ। मैं 30-35 घंटे लगाए पिछले 3-4 दिनों में कि कोशिश करके दुनिया भर की चीज़ें पढ़ी। अल्लाह ताला, मेरे पास अगर पैसा नहीं है, मेरे पास अगर ज़मीन नहीं है, तो इसका मतलब नहीं कि मैं वक़्फ़ नहीं कर सकता। मेरे पास अल्लाह ताला ने दूसरी सलाहियतें दी हैं और मैं उनका भरपूर इस्तेमाल करके वक़्फ़ कर सकता हूँ। तो हम सबको अपनी सलाहियतों को देखना चाहिए और इंशाअल्लाह हम उसी के दरमियान में से कोई ना कोई वक़्फ़ क्रिएट कर लेंगे। हमारे नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने बिल्कुल क्लियर कहा है, नॉलेज वक़्फ़ सदक़ा जारिया है, सौले औलाद सदक़ा जारिया है, और इसके अलावा कोई भी काम जो गरीबों के अवामुन्नास के काम आए और जो आपकी मौत के बाद भी चलता रहे वो भी सदक़ा जारिया है। हम तीनों कैटेगरी में फिट बैठ सकते, 3 में तो नहीं तो 2 में, 2 में नहीं तो किसी न किसी एक में अगर हम कोशिश करें तो अल्लाह ताला हमें महरूम नहीं करेगा।
जज़ाकल्लाह खैर शारिक साहब, काफी मतलब
ओके शारिक साहब, आई थिंक दैट्स ऑल द क्वेश्चन वाज। तो आपका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया कि आपने टाइम दिया। अकरम साहब, आपका भी शुक्रिया कि आप हमारे साथ आज प्रेजेंट रहे और आपने भी अपना इंसाइट्स दिया। थैंक यू ऑल फॉर द पार्टिसिपेंट्स टू अटेंड दिस इवेंट। अगर आपको कोई क्वेश्चन है you can get in touch with us, info@gobizlab.com। मैं अपना कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर और सारा ईमेल आईडी में चैट में लिख देता हूँ। So if in case you all have any question, you all can get in touch with us. So ये
thank you everyone, thank you अकरम साहब और बाकी सब लोगों को
जी शुक्रिया
आप लोगों के वक्त का। थैंक यू, अस्सलाम वालेकुम।